Okay, so today we have this call. We have Patrick Dambrowski from Keller Williams Shore Realty, and we're going to also be joined in with John Burke from JFB Appraisers. Patrick, you're going to give us some information on what's going on in the marketplace for buyers and sellers, and give us a little bit of a background on what happened last year and what you think is going to go on this year with homes being sold and listed, and you're a wealth of knowledge, so please share with us.
Good morning, Gary. Yeah. Last year, I mean, for me personally, it seemed to be a pretty good year. I do a lot of work in the 55 plus communities, all through Ocean County. If you read into the numbers that get printed, came down a little bit. Interest rates also came down a little bit since then. I know the interest rates were holding some people up last year, and everyone was a little bit nervous when the interest rates hit 8. But now we're on to a little bit lower, a little bit better, and inventory is still a little bit low, but we're moving right along. I've already there's been several transactions already, and we're only in the second month here of the year, and we've been moving forward.
Let me ask you a question. You mentioned that, and I'm not sure that I heard you correctly. Is it that prices have come down or values have come down? Because there's a difference between the two. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think prices haven't necessarily, it's more the value, right? I mean, everyone was out there, pricing the house at these very high top dollars, and that has kind of slowed down. The growth has slowed down. A 2-bedroom, 1-bath in a 55 plus community is kind of selling, I feel like, in a proper price range compared to, let's call it, about a year and a half ago, when that might have been inflated to sell at the same price as a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It just wasn't making a whole lot of sense, just because of the housing shortage. I think expectations have come back in a little bit, and people are starting to see a little bit more value.
Okay, so I'm thinking that you can't blame a person who has a home. They want to sell their home. They want to get top dollar, of course, and they're going to try to get as much as they can based on what other people have been selling. So they've actually, in some cases, listed their home a little higher than maybe what the appraised value might be, or the value of the home. And now what has happened is it wasn't maybe a realistic listing amount to list your home for. So they've lowered the price, but the value of the home, probably, like in your case, when you took the listing, you probably suggested an idea of what the home would sell for, and they were probably a little higher than what you might have suggested. Is that pretty much correct, or am I off target?
Yeah, that's really right on point, Gary. I always, when I go on a listing appointment with new clients, I like to give them a range, because nothing's exactly the same. You could be in the same exact model, even in a planned development, and when you get inside, whether or not it has a new furnace, a new roof, if the kitchen's been remodeled, bathroom's been remodeled, all of that holds value. So a lot of people were saying, well, my house is the same as theirs. So I think ultimately now people are coming into reality. I do have a listing myself on the market that my client wanted to start a little bit higher, and now we're back into reality, and now all of a sudden we're getting a lot more traffic coming through the home, because we're in the price range where we should be, kind of the price that I recommended.
Okay. And it is very typical that when a person is interested in making an offer on a home and they go into contract, that they're going to have a home inspection in a lot of cases. Not a requirement, but in most cases, people are having those home inspections. And with the homes being a little bit, well, not a little bit, actually a lot higher than maybe they were only a year or two ago, how concerning are these home inspections, and how do they play into the negotiation and the agreements with the buyer and the seller once you get these home inspections in? What are you seeing?
Yeah, so the inspections, again, not to sound like a little bit of a broken record, but a couple of years ago, there was people waiving home inspections. They were waiving appraisals. They were waiving everything they could just to get their hands on the house. Inspections is a normal process. I would never recommend anyone waive an inspection. There's just no reason for it. Even on a brand new construction home, I always tell people to get a home inspection. And it's only to your benefit. Now, there's a gray area because a lot of people feel like getting a home inspection is for a negotiation time. You know, a home inspection is for you to learn more about the home. And a lot of times there can be negotiations that come out from that home inspection, but you can't go into a home inspection thinking that, oh, we're going to save an extra $10,000, we're going to save an extra $20,000. Owning a home is an expense, right? There's always something that's going to break when you own a home. There's always something that's going to break when you own a car. These are your larger investments. But when you're buying a home and you're going through the home inspection, the actual home inspection piece is the first part, right? So in a typical contract, when you go into, you're going to negotiate your contract, you're going to go through your attorney review, then you're going to come to home inspection. You have 14 days typically to get that home inspection result, to get the home inspection. And a lot of times, houses, especially in Ocean County, you know, you have to get the home inspected. You may have to get the septic system inspected. And you may also have to get the well inspected. So there's some different inspections that have to happen. So that's why you have that 14 days. Then, depending on how your contract was written up, you have another 7 to 14 days to actually hash through that inspection and see if there's a reason to get another professional out to the site. Okay, so if there's a plumbing issue, then we would have to get a plumber out to the site. If electrical issue, an appliance issue, a roof issue, I always recommend that you get the professional out to the site, and then that way we have clear communication when we go back and say, okay, this is what our home inspection said, this is what our roofer said, this is what our plumber said, because these two problems were pointed out in our home inspection. Now, a lot of times what happens in the home inspection process is someone says, well, the home inspector said that the furnace is 15 years old and I'm going to need to replace it in 5 years. And I say, yeah, you're going to need to replace it in 5 years. But that has nothing to do with today and now. So, but if the home inspector said that the furnace wasn't working properly today, and maybe the pilot light wasn't lighting properly, you know, that could be something as simple, not being a professional in HVAC, but as simple as a thermocouple, maybe, or, you know, just a small part. So that's why we would get a professional to come out, check out the furnace. Maybe it's a $50 estimate that the guy comes out just so to show up at the house, or maybe it's $100 estimate. But when he comes out to the house, and maybe it turns out to be $150 part, and maybe it turns out that the furnace is bad, but that's why you get the professional involved, because the home inspection is your first line of communication. But then you have to, if anything pops up on that home inspection, you really need to reinforce it with the professional's opinion and the professional estimate, especially if we're going to ask for either credit or for that item to be fixed.
Got it.
So those are, you know, and that's the kind of what wraps up the home inspection is, are you asking for it to be fixed, or are you asking for a credit so that way you can fix it when you get into the home? But ultimately that inspection is, you know, your first start of the process.
So recapping with what you're saying, the home inspection is very important, of course, in your opinion, and I kind of feel the same way. And when you're actually showing a buyer houses, they do need to take into effect, as you've indicated, that maybe you're in the same neighborhood, maybe you're even looking at the same models, you know, the floor print that you're looking for. But yet, when you look at one home that has been updated recently, maybe a new roof, or maybe the kitchen's been remodeled and updated from the original, that can have value over one model versus another. But yet, when you've gone into contract on maybe a home that hasn't been updated, that's not a point to try to renegotiate that you made a higher or better offer than you should have, because things are not updated. If they're broken and they're not working and there's some kind of structural issue, that could require renegotiation. But if it's just a matter of the fact that the house hasn't recently had some updates that other houses have, you can't use that as a point to renegotiate the contract. You've already made an agreement with the seller, and it's kind of binding at that point in time and not time to renegotiate. That's what you're saying, of course.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's also usually covered. I will touch during the attorney review process. Most attorney review letters nowadays will have a little disclaimer in there that says age is not a reason to request a repair. A lot
Okay.
of times that will be in an attorney review letter. Attorney review letters can be a little long and wordy, but if you actually read it, most attorneys that I've been dealing with will put that in the review letter. Age is not so there could be a furnace in a home that easily is 25 years old, but it's working the way it should. So you will have to plan for that furnace to be repaired eventually, but if it's working the way it should, typically I tell my clients if it's not broke, they're not going to fix it. So we just got to go with that.
All right, so let's say going forward now with this information that you've provided, would it be okay with you if somebody was looking to buy a home or to sell a home, that they wanted a little bit more information on what you've just discussed? Would it be okay for them to reach out to you in the future and maybe pick your brain a little bit and get a little more information and get a more clarity if they have some questions? Would that be okay with you?
Oh yeah, definitely, Gary. I mean, any of my clients, communication is key, especially during the home inspection process. But if anyone's going through a particular situation, or if they just have a question, maybe on one of their past dealings with real estate and an inspection process, I'm always open to communicate and try to give some people some answers. And I always tell people if I don't know the answer, I'll get it. We can always get the answer for you. But the inspection, again, the inspection part, I would never, ever recommend someone waive an inspection on a home unless the only one time I would suggest would be if they were an investor and they were going to replace everything anyway. And I've seen a lot of times investors will do that because they're going to replace the items anyway.
All right, so you can be very helpful to the person looking to buy and the person looking to sell, and we will provide some information when we put this information out. We'll have some links so that Patrick can be contacted directly, and we'll have other valuable tools there. So we do appreciate your time today, and Patrick and I will see you again on our next broadcast. How's that sound, Patrick?
Hey, sounds good. Hey, Gary, one more quick thing. I just want to add in on the inspection. A lot of times people are nervous, especially the first-time home buyers. So sometimes what we can do, they're just nervous because they said that something might be too close to its age. A lot of times we can purchase home warranties for these folks, and if they home warranties, they come in several different packages, just like any other warranty, what it covers and what it doesn't. But sometimes for peace of mind, they run anywhere from $300 up to $1,000. But for peace of mind for first-time home buyers, they can get a home warranty, and that a lot of times will cover their appliance packages or maybe their furnace repairs and different big hitters that are on the list.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up because Patrick, you and I have an agreement that with certain qualifications and first-time buyers, you're able to offer them the first year's $500 credit towards their home warranty. So you're absolutely correct, and that is a gift from you. And there's more things that we do offer that would help that person who is the first-time buyer. So I'm glad you mentioned that because that is, like I said, a tremendous help and gives you a sense of security the first year in the home. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we're good for now, and we'll say goodbye.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Remember, when it comes to home inspections, Gary, there's nothing for nothing. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing for nothing. All right.
You go. I was wondering what was on that shirt. There you go. Take care.
All right. Talk to you, Gary. Have a good one.